Hello everyone, this is a video that I'm going to do just to show you how I sorted out my back pain problem. Bit of a disclaimer first, if you have any problems with your back at the moment, get yourself checked out. These exercises you shouldn't do if you've got a disc prolapse or certain other problems with your back. So if you've got a problem, get yourself checked out. If you have been told that you've got what they call mechanical back pain, which is basically bad back due to stiffness, which is what I had, then these exercises should hopefully help you like they helped me. If you don't have any back problems, then so much better. You can still do the exercises. It will keep you nice and flexible and stop any further problems in the future. Now, the first thing we're going to say before we start is that when you treat your back, you're actually not doing too much to your back, you're actually working your pelvis and your legs. And I'm saying this because I'm going to show you some exercises and you're going to say, well, hold on a minute, he's not doing anything with his back, he's just doing leg work or other things. And this is because what helps your back the most is having a flexible pelvis and flexible legs. And this is, if you think about it, it's quite simple, and this is how I understand it. Basically, we spend a huge amount of time sitting down, whether you're working, reading, studying, eating, watching TV, relaxing. You'll probably be sitting a huge amount of time, which basically makes your body learn a certain position, which is basically your leg will be, your hip will be flexed, your hip flexor will be contracted, and your hamstring will also be short and tight because it will be flexed. When that happens, as I said, your body becomes used to that posture. So when you stand up, the muscles start to say, well, hold on a minute, hamstring shouldn't be stretched. It should be shorter and tighter. So we will pull on the pelvis slightly forward, tilt it forward. At the same time, the hip flexor will say, well, hold on a minute, I shouldn't be stretching. I should be quite tight as well. So it basically locks the pelvis in a position. You probably don't notice it because you're walking quite normally, and because obviously your quads are quite strong, and you straighten your knees, and then your pelvis goes like that. Otherwise, you'd be walking like that. So what that means is when your pelvis is locked in a rigid position, when you have to bend down for anything, pick up something from the floor, etc., you're doing all the work with your back. I've had a pulled back just by going to wash my face and just doing that slightly. And that is because, as I say, you're doing a lot of the movement with your back what you shouldn't do. You should be doing more work with your pelvis, which is what helps your back in the long run. Right, so with no more talking, we're going to start. As I say, purely because I'm standing up, I'm going to say, let's do some hip flexor stretches. So you steady yourself and then you basically pull your leg up and then count to 30, that's about 20 seconds. If you count slowly, count to 50, which is just over 30 seconds. Just do that one side and then the other. Okay. We're going to be doing these exercises very gradually, so if there's some things that you can't do, then just don't do them, or do what you can, and as you become more flexible, you'll be able to progress further. As we're standing as well, I always tend to do some back extensions, just extending your back backwards. Now this is normally because your body will counter whatever you want to do. So if you want to bend down, it's a good idea to do the back extension, because then you'll be able to bend down a lot more easily. Because when you're bending backwards, you're stretching the front and your body's thinking, hold on a minute, this needs to be relaxed, which is then when you bend down, it's a lot easier because your back is relaxed. Right, so we go down on the floor, on the mat. First thing I do is just do some lateral exercises, just to get some mobility to the spine. And that's very simple. Knees slightly apart and just bend, keeping your pelvis forward, because otherwise you tend to go back down and it's not quite the same. Keep your pelvis forward and then just touch the floor with your fingers. Do that 10 times or whatever you think is right. If you can do a little bit more, then you can raise the other arm and then try to get down with your knuckles if you can. As I say, if you can't, just do your fingers or however far you can go to. Okay? Now, after doing this, I would normally, you go on all fours and you do the usual cat-cow yoga positions, which is just basically, again, just trying to give some mobility to your spine. It doesn't look like it's a lot when you're watching it on a video, but you just go on all fours and you basically, you stick your bum up to the air and look up, and then just try to arch your spine, and you will feel quite a bit of stretch at the front, and then you round your back with your cow position. And again, just do cat and cow, purely just to get some movement to your spine. That's quite fairly simple. Now, from this position, what you could do is just put your foot forward, move it to one side, and then just get your knee on the floor. Now, if you can keep your foot forward, because it's got a tendency to go back, so keep it forward, and then just lower your other knee, get your elbow to the floor, and then just stretch. It's basically you're stretching your hip and your glute. So again, do what you can. Obviously, you could do a bit more, you could do a bit less, depending on how you feel. Hold the position again for 10, 20 seconds, whatever you think is comfortable. And then you do the same on the other side. Foot to one side, knee down, elbow down, support your foot, get your knee backwards, and just stretch. Count till, do a few seconds, and then do the rest one. Now the next exercise is really good, because you're certainly not doing any work, so you're actually resting, and you're letting gravity do the work for you. So you're basically doing your weight is doing the work for you. So what you do is you put your leg forward, then your other leg back, and then just allow your body to fall to the floor. Now, what that's doing, that's stretching your lower back, the sacroiliac joint in your pelvis, which is really good. And as I say, you're not doing anything, you're just allowing your weight to do the work. And then you do the other side. And this is also quite good if you do the after some aerobic exercise, because you're actually resting but doing your stretching at the same time. Now, if you can, and you may not be able to do this for quite some time if you're very stiff, but if you can, it's a good idea from this position, when you're in that position, try to hold your other foot. And maybe this is all you can do. You may be able to go a bit like that because things are very stiff. But over time, you will be able to lower your body, get your head to the floor, and then just bring your heel to the glute. And I think that will be good. You'll be extending your quad and your hip flexor. And then you can do the same on the other side. But as I say, it may take, if you're quite rigid, it may take you quite some time to do this. It certainly took me a long time, over a year, to do this. Right. So that's a stretch. To support your back, you need to have your core muscles really strong, and for that, the plank is one of the best exercises for that, which is very simple. Put your elbows on the floor, lift your knees, get your back straight, and just hold this position whenever you can, 10, 20, 30 seconds, up to a minute if you can. That will be quite a tough task, but that's something that will strengthen the core muscles front and back. So it's also a good idea to do a side plank or a lateral plank, which is exactly the same. Elbow on the floor and just lift from the side. So you can just do that, just to strengthen that side. If you do that, if you want to make it slightly easier. And again, you do the other side and you hold it for however many seconds you think you can. Now when you finish the plank, I always try to do some stretching of the adductors. So just push with your elbows, keep your feet as close to the pelvis as you can, and then with your elbows push it down to the floor. Normally do 10 times, whatever you think, just to keep things moving flexibly. Now after the plank, what you could do, you just go on your back and do a stretching exercise, which is basically just stretch your body and lift your bottom from the floor. So you're not touching the floor, and what you're doing is you're just strengthening the core muscles and also the glutes. So again, if you can hold that position 10, 20, 30 seconds and relax. Now, what we're going to do now is very, very similar to the position where we're letting gravity do the work for us, but this time we're going to do a little bit more ourselves, which is basically just lie on the floor and bring your knee forward to your chest. Now it requires a bit more effort because you have to lock your knee with your arm, and if you can, with the other hand, just pull the foot across the body. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to stretch the glute and the hip. So again, you hold that for a few seconds, and then you do the same on the other side. A few seconds, as I say, whatever you think. To start with, you'll probably start with maybe 10, 20 seconds, and you can increase it with time, depending how comfortable you feel. Now, from that position, I would recommend that you do this other position, which is also a yoga pose, which is called the Happy Baby. It looks a little bit funny, but I would recommend that you do it because it's very good. So you basically lift your feet up in the air, you hold them apart and just stretch and hold the pose as long as you can. And that would be really good. Then you lift forward. Believe me, it's not the most ridiculous exercise that I do, but it's very good, although I do appreciate that it can look a little bit funny. Now, when you've done this on your back, then you move to the front. My physiotherapist, when I was having my back problems, she always said, whatever you do, always do some back extensions. So if you rest yourself on the floor and just lift your back, again, 10, 20, 30 times, that would be helpful. And that's because everybody does a lot of work with the front part of the body, press-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, etc. And it's a little bit of vanity because you want to have a nice body, you want to look, develop certain muscles, and you often neglect the back muscles, which are the really important ones to keep your spine really strong and supported. Once you've done your back extensions, I would recommend, because you're in this position already, just keep your legs together and lift one knee and hold it. Now this will stretch your quad. If you're not very flexible, what will probably happen is that your pelvis will go like that to try and compensate, so you will lift from the floor. But if you can, try to keep it on the floor and just pull your foot up to the glute. You can relax, just pull it as much as you can. As I say, it may not be very much initially, and hold the position maybe for 20-30 seconds. And then you do the same on the other side. Again, 20-30 seconds, remembering to keep your pelvis down on the floor and not lift it. And when you've done both sides, then you try to do both together. So you hold one leg, then the other, knees together, pelvis down and feet up. Again, hold it for a few seconds and relax. Now from here, you can lift your upper body, similar to an upward facing dog in yoga. Basically, you're stretching your arms, try and keep your pelvis as close to the floor as you can. Look up to aid the extension of your back. You should feel quite a bit of a stretch at the front of your body, in your abdomen. Just do that for a few seconds. Now this is the pose that if I do it for too long, it will give me a little bit of back pain. So you just want to have it as a bit of mobility, but not overdo it. And after that, I would recommend feet together, knees together, and just you relax. Relax your back with a full flexion forward, which is quite nice, gives you a bit of a break, and you can relax. And if you've pulled anything in your lower back, it will all settle down in this nice flexed position. Now, when you sit on the floor, you can work on your hamstrings. So basically, what you do is you hold your feet, do the hip abductors and stretching, and then keep one leg flexed, one knee flexed, and the other one gets extended. Now, this is just basically, you just want to stretch the hamstrings. You may not be able to do very much initially, especially if you're very stiff, so you may just be able to touch your knee, touch your leg, your shin, your ankle. You may be able to touch your foot, you may be able to go to the ball of your foot, you may be able to, with time, get to this. Other people obviously do a lot more than me, but this is what I've achieved so far. And then you hold this position again, 20-30 seconds, however long you think, always making sure that you keep your leg, your knee as flat as you can. And then you change sides. Always do this adductor stretching, and then do the other one. Wherever you can, knee, shin, ankle, foot, ball of foot, and with both if you can. And you just hold it for a few seconds. Right. Now from your round position when you were earlier, relaxing your back, it would be a good idea to do the downward facing dog, which is this very typical yoga position. And what you do is you basically keep your hands on the floor. I like to grab the mat because it just gives my upper body a little bit more stability. And then you basically lift your bottom. Now the difficulty here will be try to keep your legs straight, your feet straight, and your heels down to the floor. So that may be quite difficult initially. Initially you may be doing things like that. That's fine. You just want to stretch. What you want to do is you want to stretch your calf muscles as well as the hamstring. You hold the position for as long as you can, and then you can do individual legs just to stretch one leg at a time. And this would be like walking the dog. So you're just walking with the lateral movement of the hips. And when you finish, you bring yourself up. And I think these are all the exercises. I'm not sure. I don't think that I've forgotten any of the ones I normally do. So what you'll probably find is that after you finish this, you will be able to bend down a lot more because you'll be doing a lot of the bending with just your pelvis. And if you think about it, just doing like that. I mean, I haven't bent my back yet. I've just done this with the pelvis. All I can do is I can feel the stretching at the back of my legs, but nothing on my back. And look, I'm already there. With a little bit more, touch the floor, get your knuckles to the floor, get your palms to the floor. That's something that with time you will do, but you will do mostly from the pelvis. You shouldn't be doing this with your back because this is how you can also get an injury. It's just doing the pelvis, and you will know you're doing it right by feeling the stretch in the legs, not in the back. That will keep you nice and flexible and hopefully avoid problems for the future. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, just click like and comment, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me.